Every day I get emails and messages from viewers of the channel sending me ideas that I could use for potential videos or news articles or things that they think that I haven't seen or heard about. Some of them I've already made videos about in the past. Some of them I have seen and decided not to make a video on, and some of them I don't know about. So it's quite interesting to see them. But the latest one that I got was an article titled, "Elon Musk wants LFP batteries for Tesla. Here's why Korean battery trio should not produce them." Now, the person who sent me this email, I'm not going to say your name, but he said he's a regular watcher of the channel, and he claims that this proves that LFP batteries are bad and don't work, or something along those lines anyway. Hello, my friends. You're watching The Electric Viking. My name is Sam Evans. Welcome to the channel. If you don't already know, we've created 570 videos over the last 6.5 months. So make sure if you're new to the channel, because there's a lot of new subscribers coming on board recently, subscriber numbers are starting to increase. Make sure you check out some of those videos, because some of them are, well, videos you probably haven't seen before. Some of the topics there are things that are not available anywhere else on YouTube or on the internet, really. So this article was written by the Korea Herald. As you can imagine, the Korea Herald, well, is basically sponsored by Korean battery companies and, of course, the Korean government. So they're towing the party line. But honestly, the dishonesty in this article is quite staggering. And I read it and I was a bit shocked. And then I kept reading, I was more shocked, and I just couldn't believe how far they went to blatantly lie in order to support their own industry. Now, I think that this is disingenuous in the extreme, because it just means that they're killing their own industry by trying to ignore what the future is and pretending, like they've been doing with hydrogen in Korea, that they have what everyone needs and it doesn't matter what everyone else says. You should buy what we have. Now, the article says that LFP batteries have no recyclable value at all and are more expensive than lithium-ion batteries when considering all factors. And it cites a number of different bizarre so-called facts which have no basis in reality whatsoever. I have to share this with you. Elon Musk strikes again. With every word he posts on Twitter, the market swings like a pendulum. That is true. From Bitcoin to space, the eccentric leader's influence has no bounds. This time, the Tesla CEO is shaking up the electric vehicle market by challenging the decades-long paradigm of lithium-ion batteries. Last month, Tesla announced that it would use a cheaper, safer alternative called lithium iron phosphate, or LFP batteries, in all of its standard range cars. Taken aback by Tesla's shift, South Korean battery trio LG Energy Solutions, Samsung SD, and SK On, which only manufacture lithium-ion batteries, had to make a judgment call on whether they should produce LFP batteries too. This is not really a true narrative. Tesla's been using LFP batteries for quite a long time now and has signaled their intention to use more of them for a long time. It hasn't happened in the last week or two, unless this writer has had his head completely in the sand. It was only SK On that called Tesla's LFP bet. During its third quarter conference call, SK On said it would mass produce LFP batteries to target the low-end EV market. Well, this is a lie as well. LG Chem, or LG Energy Solutions, also said that they would start pivoting into LFP batteries well before this article was written. So if this writer had any interest in presenting the truth, he would have acknowledged that fact. Why did LG Chem or LG Energy Solutions decide to pivot to LFP? Well, obviously, car manufacturers want LFP batteries. But in addition to that, it's also because their batteries are catching fire. So car companies are saying, we don't want these batteries that are catching fire. We want batteries that are less likely to catch fire. Can you provide those? And LG Energy Solutions are saying no. So what are they doing? Well, they have announced that they are pivoting to lithium iron phosphate batteries. In addition to that, another car manufacturer that just announced that they are doing the same is Mercedes, who said that they'll be using LFP batteries as well. So the article goes on. However, experts remain unsure about following Tesla's lead, as LFP batteries, at a closer look, exhibit critical weaknesses in price competitiveness and driving range compared to lithium-ion batteries. Reading this to you, I'm cringing. As the name suggests, LFP batteries use iron and phosphate as key materials. These two materials are cheap and abundant, especially in China. Now, there are questions about how abundant phosphate will be long-term, about whether the supply will actually be an issue, but I'll talk about those in a different video. This is why LFP batteries, produced predominantly by Chinese players such as CATL and BYD, are much cheaper than lithium-ion batteries, which contain expensive metals such as nickel, cobalt, and manganese. So a minute ago, they said that LFP batteries are more expensive, and now they're saying they're cheaper. So I'm not sure what story they're kind of sticking with here, but we'll go on. On the flip side, however, this means that LFP batteries are worth much less in their second life when the final recycling process is included. LFP batteries are $1 more expensive than lithium-ion batteries per kilowatt hour. Now, I don't know what that means. There's no logic behind that statement whatsoever. Anyway, according to SNE Research, a local market tracker, LFP batteries are $18 cheaper than lithium-ion batteries per kilowatt hour, which is totally bogus. They're nowhere near $18 cheaper per kilowatt hour. I would say on average, they're more like $50 to $60 cheaper per kilowatt hour. The difference is actually staggering. It's huge. However, from lithium-ion batteries, $23 worth of precious metals can be recovered. Inside LFP batteries, the only metal worth recovering is lithium. About $4 worth of lithium is retrievable. As a result, LFP batteries are $18 cheaper to buy, but worth $19 less to recycle. In simple math, LFP batteries are $1 more expensive than lithium-ion batteries when their second life is taken into account. This is obviously complete nonsense because lithium-ion batteries usually on average get less than half the number of charge cycles that an LFP battery gets. Literally, less than half. You don't see any lithium-ion batteries being pulled out of buses and used for energy storage. It doesn't happen. But LFP batteries, on the other hand, they do. Another viewer of the channel recently bought batteries from a BYD bus, which he now uses for energy storage. How can you do that if the batteries last for the same amount of time? Well, they don't. LFP batteries they exhibit significantly less degradation over their life period. They can charge from 0 to 100% constantly, up and down, and see very, very little battery degradation. And they have usually way more than twice as many cycles as ternary batteries. So all the mathematics they're using here are completely made up in order to skew a narrative that they're trying to present. They go on. For short-term profit, automakers might consider using LFP batteries. In the long term, they have to review the risks and costs of recycling spent on LFP batteries of little value. So of course now they're trying to make it about the environment. Also, they have to pay attention to strengthening environmental regulations and environmental, social, and governance management, an SNE research analyst said. Now, CATL basically make batteries. BYD basically make electric cars, they make mobile phones, and they make batteries. Well, yeah, okay. LG Energy Solutions, what do they make? What's their primary industry? Chemicals and oil. So if we're going to talk about battery companies having the moral obligation, how about your own company, the largest battery company in Korea, gets out of the oil business and gets out of the chemicals business because that's where 90% of their revenue comes from, not from batteries. Anyway, global consensus is that it's the automakers who are responsible to retrieve used up batteries from EVs. Considering the second life, they might find themselves at a disadvantage when they opt for LFP batteries. Now this is ridiculous because really, if you buy a vehicle with LFP batteries, the most likely outcome is that when the car's finished, you still have a battery pack you can use. That's the most likely outcome, which will happen in 9 out of 10 scenarios. You have to use those batteries for energy storage. What will happen is the market will have an enormous amount of batteries from cars that are involved in crashes. You can see them now on eBay. Thousands of people have bought Tesla batteries from cars involved in crashes. And you'll have batteries coming out of old cars, which will be used for energy storage. It's fantastic. It's going to mean that almost anyone will be able to afford energy storage. Anyway, the article goes on. LFP batteries may be cheaper, but not without the help of massive state subsidies. According to SNE Research, Chinese authorities have doled out subsidies worth more than 100 trillion won, or $84.5 billion to local mineral companies so that they can supply raw materials at lower than the market price to LFP battery manufacturers. Now, here's more lies from the Korean Herald or the Korea Herald. They're claiming that there's no subsidies that go to battery manufacturers in Korea, which is nonsense. There's billions of dollars in subsidies going to these companies. There's billions of dollars being invested in hydrogen. There's billions of dollars being given to Korean car companies or Korean battery manufacturers to make batteries. It's exactly the same as China. This whole holier-than-thou attitude to me is ridiculous. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's articles like this in China that are sort of presenting a similar picture for other countries. Well, maybe there's not. I don't know. So it goes on. Even if more advanced LFP batteries are developed, it's simply impossible to compete against Chinese-made LFP batteries in terms of price. So they're saying, in other words, our battery manufacturers, well, they're not good enough to make batteries that are cost competitive on price. Even if we make better ones, we still can't compete. So just give up before you've even started. Chang Jong-hoon, an analyst at Samsung Securities, acknowledges that LFP batteries are cheaper, but suggests that they are too heavy to compete against lithium-ion batteries. According to Chang, LFP batteries are about 8% cheaper than typical lithium-ion batteries, while LFP batteries cost 353,126 won per kilowatt hour. NCM 622 lithium-ion batteries cost 384,912 won. Well, everybody knows that there's not an 8% difference between LFP batteries and ternary batteries. If there was an 8% difference, then why exactly are so many cheap and, well, affordable electric cars coming with LFP batteries? We know that that's not the difference. It's just another cherry-picked number they've just completely made up to support their narrative. Even if LFP batteries offer the same kilowatt hours, they will inevitably offer less driving range than lithium-ion batteries due to heavier weight, Chang said. So now it's not just cost. Apparently they're not cheaper really at all. They're heavier, so it doesn't make sense there either. NCM 622 batteries contain 60% nickel, 20% cobalt, and 20% manganese. They are for mid-range EVs such as 2016 Chevrolet Bolt EVs, which can travel roughly 380 kilometers. So why an article from 2021 is talking about an EV from 2016, which uses 20% cobalt, and claiming that that's only 6% more expensive than a battery using no cobalt, no manganese, and no nickel, is just honestly, ludicrously, idiotically stupid. Anyway, it goes on. The driving range gap is expected to only widen as Korean battery players are increasing the ratio of nickel to make lithium-ion batteries more powerful. LG Energy Solutions has developed NCMA nickel, cobalt, manganese, aluminium batteries that contain 90% nickel, while Samsung SDI has come up with NCA nickel, cobalt, aluminium batteries that contain 91% nickel. Hush, hush. Due to the key drawbacks just 2 to 3 years ago, the market predicted that LFP batteries would disappear sooner or later. No sources here to who predicted this. No one is saying, well, CATL is the largest battery manufacturer in the world and they make LFP, so maybe it wasn't going to disappear. No sources here whatsoever. No one said. But now LFP batteries are back in the game as automakers are searching for a safer option in the aftermath of recent recalls involving lithium-ion batteries. And where did all those batteries come from? Korea. As the EV market trends shift to safety from performance, LFP batteries are given a second chance. Well, actually, that's not true. LFP batteries have been doing well regardless of this so-called second chance because of the safety risks behind lithium-ion batteries or ternary batteries. But certainly, the increased fires lately from LG Energy Solutions batteries has definitely improved sales for CATL. Even better, says the article, key patents that have blocked China from exporting LFP batteries are set to expire next year, according to a London-based consultancy, Roskill. China is currently making preparations to take on EV battery market dominated by lithium-ion batteries, much in the same way that the country subverted the US and Europe-led solar panel market with cheaper options. Upon the rise of LFP batteries, experts express caution, as they are just as prone to fire risks. Oh, okay. No experts have been quoted here whatsoever for these claims. A lack of coverage of LFP battery fires cases in China, where media is tightly controlled, gave birth to an unwarranted market belief in their safety, they say. They don't quote these so-called experts at all, so I have no idea who they're talking about here. It's difficult to agree with those who argue that LFP batteries are fireproof or free of fire risks, just like lithium-ion batteries. LFP batteries are soaked with liquid electrolytes, which are inflammable. When short circuits occur, LFP batteries are destined to catch fire, Chang said. There have been several cases of BYD's E5 mounted with 47 kWh LFP batteries catching fire. One of them was set on fire during charging in September last year. Until now, LFP batteries have been sold mostly in China, so their accidents have been relatively unknown compared to lithium-ion batteries. So, it's a big conspiracy. China's hiding it. It's actually not true that LFP batteries are better in terms of safety. The BYD Null test, which we've all seen on videos, and we've seen BYD run over their batteries with a truck and show that they don't set on fire. That's all fake. BYD faked all that. The government is hiding everything. It's a conspiracy. LFP batteries are actually just as dangerous as lithium-ion batteries in crashes. So all the crashes that have happened, they've been hidden by the Chinese government and Chinese battery companies. So it's just a big conspiracy that LFP batteries are safer than ternary batteries. So lots of conspiracies here, lots of so-called made-up facts, made-up experts, made-up quotes from people that haven't even said who made the quote. And honestly, this is the kind of article where there are so many untruths. It's truly staggering. Hopefully, people in Korea don't read this, and you don't read this, wherever you're coming from, and believe any of it. Unfortunately, the truth is, for Korea, they are in a difficult situation right now. Their three big battery companies have, all fully committed to a different technology. And it's really hard to turn back because once you've made the infrastructure, the battery manufacturing lines, the factories, train the staff, put all the costs, put all the money into developing a certain battery chemistry, and then the industry starts to say, yeah, there's a better option. And they start to move away from what you've put your money into. And then, of course, what do? You pay your local newspaper to provide false information in order to try and keep the status quo. While it doesn't matter what the Korean Herald says, the status quo is gone. The future is here. LFP batteries, as Elon Musk said, are the future. Thanks for watching the channel. Been great to have you. And remember, this is actually good news because LFP batteries are significantly cheaper, not 6% cheaper. They're actually around about 40% cheaper. And that means that you're going to get cheaper electric cars that are affordable, that last longer, way, way longer. The batteries are going to last longer than the car. If you want to keep your car for 20 years, great. You can take the batteries out afterwards and use them for energy storage. And that is good news. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.